it. I think it gave me permission to believe that I could. So it took a couple years and a lot of conversations with my wife.
Hello, how are you? Welcome back to the channel and happy Sunday. I hope your weekend is going well. My name is Mandy Magnan and I'm an actress, writer, producer, and director based in Toronto. I also review movies, cover pop culture, and serve as your YouTube commentator for everything it ends with never. Today we're diving into the deposition of Justin Baldoni. 2 depositions have been unsealed, so if the setup looks a little different, that's because I have a talented Canadian friend with me, Glenn Joffrey, joining the discussion. You might recognize Glenn from shows like CE with Jason Momoa, or from the heavy metal band Anvil. It's a real pleasure to have him here. In this video, we'll focus on one of the depositions, which is about 30 pages long. I will be portraying Justin Baldoni, while Glenn will take on the role of the attorneys. So without further ado, grab your emotional support lip gloss, because you're in frame with Mandy Magnan. Do you remember sharing anything else about your experience on set during that call? That pretty much covers it. This is just the first part of the deposition. Another major section, over 100 pages, is coming soon. Drop your comments and let me know what you think about this. There are a lot of people involved in this whole circle, including Shawn Levy, and even mentions of The Rock. Definitely leave your thoughts. I hope you're having a great day. Take a few minutes for yourself. Be kind to yourself. And remember to love yourself a little more, because I love you. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. And did you feel like she believed what you were sharing about your experiences on set? Yes, I don't remember sharing a lot, but what I did share was the truth, and she acknowledged it. I specifically remember talking about the situation with our trainer and asking his thoughts on what Miss Lively might weigh during the scene where I had to pick her up because of my back. The next day, I was confronted about it, and apparently, the trainer told her I had been asking about her weight, which then blew up into a bigger issue. She seemed almost unable to believe that this was even happening. I also remember mentioning a comment I had made about Jenny Slate's wardrobe, using the word sexy, and she responded jokingly, in a way that generalized the fragility of the women involved. I talked about how challenging the wardrobe was, and how difficult the whole experience felt overall. That's kind of what I remember sharing. Justin clarifies that the idea regarding Ryan Reynolds' comments about the female writer and the female-led film came from his partner, Steve Sarowitz, and he was merely passing it along. When asked whether he evaluated or judged the idea before sharing it, he says he did not disagree with Steve, noting that the context was Ryan referring to the script as a disaster. Justin explains that aside from reporting what was happening and what Ryan or Blake had said, he does not have any other independent basis for understanding their statements. When asked how this approach of flipping the narrative fits with the principle of only putting out positive stories, Justin frames it as a defensive measure. Justin clarifies that the idea regarding Ryan Reynolds' comments about the female writer and the female-led film came from his partner, Steve Sarowitz, and he was merely passing it along. When asked whether he evaluated or judged the idea before sharing it, he says he did not disagree with Steve, noting that the context was Ryan referring to the script as a disaster. Justin explains that aside from reporting what was happening and what Ryan or Blake had said, he does not have any other independent basis for understanding their statements. When asked how this approach of flipping the narrative fits with the principle of only putting out positive stories, Justin frames it as a defensive measure. Justin clarifies that he personally did not hire anyone, but confirms that Wayfair engaged TAG. His understanding was that TAG was brought on specifically to serve as crisis public relations representatives. Justin explains that once TAG was hired, he believes they received instructions from Wayfair through Jamie Heath, though he does not know the exact details of those instructions. His own input was limited to sharing ideas with Jamie or during calls with Jen, primarily focused on planning and securing positive press for the movie. He describes his involvement as in and out, contributing ideas rather than actively managing conversations with TAG. Justin recalls emphasizing that the PR strategy should highlight the voices of survivors, focus on domestic violence issues, and center attention on the movie itself, rather than the surrounding speculation or drama. Justin clarifies that he personally did not hire anyone, but confirms that Wayfair engaged TAG. His understanding was that TAG was brought on specifically to serve as crisis public relations representatives. Justin explains that once TAG was hired, he believes they received instructions from Wayfair through Jamie Heath, though he does not know the exact details of those instructions. His own input was limited to sharing ideas with Jamie or during calls with Jen, primarily focused on planning and securing positive press for the movie. He describes his involvement as in and out, contributing ideas rather than actively managing conversations with TAG. Justin recalls emphasizing that the PR strategy should highlight the voices of survivors, focus on domestic violence issues, and center attention on the movie itself, rather than the surrounding speculation or drama. When asked how many screenshots he sent to MITS, he cannot provide an exact number but estimates it was more than 10, noting that it was a very difficult period. Justin confirms that Wayfair, including himself, decided to hire Melissa Nathan despite objections from Stephanie Jones. He refers to a text message from Stephanie Jones dated July 26, 2024, in which she warned him against hiring Melissa Nathan. This message refreshed his recollection that he was considering bringing on Crisis PR before that date. He remembers that Stephanie sent a link at the top of the thread, but does not recall ever clicking it, and to his knowledge, he only saw one version of the scenario planning document referenced in the conversation. After receiving the scenario planning document, Wayfair ultimately hired TAG, a crisis public relations company. He does recall having text conversations with his health coach, Jennifer Benson, and with Don Saladino. Jennifer Benson's role as his health coach was to help him maintain his health through supplements, peptides, and supporting his immune system. Justin explains that his text messages with his health coach were intended to help clarify the truth of what had happened during a period when he faced multiple accusations. One of the accusations was a false claim that he had put Blake Lively on a call with a dietitian, which he says was an extreme distortion of the truth. He also discusses his communications with Don Saladino, a personal trainer whom he assumes also worked with Blake Lively. Justin recalls that his texts with Saladino demonstrated that they were collaborating with him at the time. Justin recalls that Aziz left about a year into his role. While Justin feels he is not fully qualified to judge what makes a good COO, he admits having personal concerns with Aziz. Specifically, he felt that Aziz often promised things in deal-making that were not feasible. Aziz, Justin says, was a wheeler and dealer, and at times, Justin felt he was not operating with full integrity. Justin provides a specific example involving his father, a pioneer in product placement in the entertainment industry. Aziz allegedly promised Justin's father that he could build an entire product placement division at Wayfair Studios and offered him a salary. Justin recalls that this raised his father's hopes unnecessarily, as it was not actually part of the plan. Regarding communications, Justin confirms he did not share any text messages with Blake Lively, Stephanie Jones, Jen Ale, or Melissa Nathan. Justin met Steve while Steve was working on a film called The Gate, a story about a central figure in the Baha'i faith. Justin helped guide him, and their shared worldview and faith led to a friendship and eventually co-founding Wayfair Studios. He estimates that they were introduced around 2016 or 2017. Justin confirms that he serves as co-chairman of Wayfair Studios and holds no other titles. His responsibilities are largely focused on the company's future direction and assisting with creative decisions, but he doth not handle the financials. Justin confirms that he doth not have responsibilities for the day-to-day operations of Wayfair Studios. When asked if Steve Sarowitz handles the financial side, while he focuses on creative aspects, Justin clarifies that Sarowitz is also creative, but Justin doth not take on any other operational role. He is asked about Labid Aziz, the original COO of Wayfair Studios. Justin provides context about Wayfair Entertainment, explaining that Ahmed was his former partner in the small production company he had started years ago. Ahmed, an independent producer, helped him get Wayfair off the ground, and Justin gave him a small piece of equity. Jaime Heath worked with very little salary compared to others, dedicating himself fully to the company, and both Justin and Steve Sarowitz felt he deserved a small piece of equity as well. Justin is uncertain about whether Tara Hanks officially received or was promised any equity, though discussions may have occurred when she joined. When asked, Justin confirms that he and Steve Sarowitz co-founded Wayfair Studios, officially around early 2020 during the pandemic, though initial conversations began in 2019. The motivation behind starting Wayfair Studios was shared. Both Justin and Steve wanted to create movies that could make a positive difference and help people. Justin explains that Shawn Levy called to offer advice on how to handle or navigate making a movie with Blake Lively. He believes this call took place around April 2023. At the time, he was at his office in New Jersey, while he is unsure of Levy's location. Justin confirms that he did not inform Levy that the call was being recorded. Other than the two calls previously discussed with Ann Gianetti and Shawn Levy, Justin cannot recall recording any additional phone calls, noting that recording calls is not something he does often. When asked about Jaime Heath and whether he frequently records calls, Justin says he is unaware of Heath's personal habits, but acknowledges that Heath has recorded at least one conversation in the context of his work with Wayfair Entertainment. Specifically, Justin recalls a recording involving a WME agent discussing promised equity. Todd Black is generally based in New York, though he lives in Los Angeles and frequently travels for movie shoots. Justin is unsure if Todd maintains an office in LA. Beyond the call with Ann Gianetti, Justin recalls recording part of a call with Shawn Levy, the director and a close friend of both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Justin remembers that Levy called him, but the conversation felt like an attempt to adjust or course correct him, which made Justin uncomfortable. He explains that it didn't feel like a casual check-in. Rather, it seemed like Levy was instructed to call him. When asked if the call related to the movie It Ends With Us or the tensions surrounding it, Justin clarifies that it was not specifically about that, though he does not elaborate further on the topic of the movie. Regarding why he recorded the call with Ann Gianetti, he has only a vague memory, but believes he felt powerless, scared, and somewhat lonely. He did not have a specific plan for the recording. He just wasn't sure if he might need it one day. As it turns out, he hasn't listened to it, so it has not been needed. He also confirms that he did not inform Ann Gianetti that the call was being recorded. when asked where he was located during the recording. Justin can't recall precisely without knowing the date, though he speculates that he may have been in California. He assumes Gayanetti was also in California at the time. He has no memory of recording any calls with Josh Greenstein and would only recall recording calls with Todd Black, if Todd were on a call with Gayanetti. Since the lawsuit, Justin has been using Signal mostly to communicate with his attorneys, the defendants, and some friends. He does not use Telegram, though he occasionally sends voice notes. When asked if he hath ever recorded phone calls he participated in, he confirms that he hath, but not frequently. Regarding calls or Zoom meetings related to this case, specifically the Blake Lively or Stephanie Jones cases, he estimates recording 2 to 4 times, settling on around 4 for simplicity. When it comes to in-person meetings, he recalls only one instance, an improv acting session between Jenny Slate and Blake Lively, which he participated in. This took place at their production offices in Hope, New Jersey. Jenny Slate was present with him, while Blake Lively was assumed to be at her home in New York. Hi, Glenn. Thanks for joining us. Today we're looking at Exhibit 20, unsealed from document 10720, and we'll get right into it. There are a few redactions to note. Starting on page 20, the first question asks whether Justin reviewed any documents to prepare for the deposition. He answers yes. When asked if those documents refreshed his memory of the events, he says no, regarding whether all documents reviewed were produced in the case. He assumes so. When asked if he reviewed anything on his phone to prepare, he responds no. Justin has attended other depositions in this case either via Zoom or in person. He confirms he uses Apple iMessage to communicate, and while he receives many emails, he admits he's not great at responding, though he occasionally does with brief replies. He also participates in WhatsApp threads with various people and confirms he uses Signal for communication since the lawsuit, but not before.